The Three Kinds of Karma by Annie Besant, read by Dave Marsland of Cardiff Theosophical Society. The Three Kinds of Karma. Ripe karma is that which is ready for reaping and which is therefore inevitable. Out of all the karma of the past, there is a certain amount which can be exhausted within the limits of a single life. There are some kinds of karma that are so incongruous that they could not be worked out in a single physical body, but would require very different types of body for their expression. There are liabilities contracted towards other souls, and all these souls will not be in incarnation at the same time. There is karma that must be worked out in some particular nation or particular social position, while the same man has other karma that needs an entirely different environment. Part only, therefore, of his total karma can be worked out in a given life, and this part is selected by the great lords of karma, of whom something will presently be said. And the soul is guided to incarnate in a family, a nation, a place, a body, suitable for the exhaustion of that aggregate of causes which can be worked out together. This aggregate of causes fixes the length of that particular life, gives to the body its characteristics, its powers, its limitations, brings into contact with the man the souls incarnated within that life period to whom he has contracted obligations, surrounding him with relatives, friends and enemies, marks out the social conditions into which he is born, and their accompanying advantages and disadvantages, selects the mental images he can show forth by moulding the organisation of the brain and nervous system with which he has to work, puts together the causes that result in troubles and joys in his outer career, and that can be brought into a single life. All this is the ripe karma, and this can be sketched out in a horoscope cast by a competent astrologer. In all this the man has no power of choice. All is fixed by the choices he has made in the past, and he must discharge to the utmost farthing the liabilities he has contracted. The physical, astral and mental bodies which the soul takes on for a new life period are, as we have seen, the direct result of his past, and they form a most important part of this ripe karma. They limit the soul on every side, and his past rises up in judgment against him, marking out the limitations which he has made for himself. Cheerfully to accept these, and diligently to work at their improvement, is the part of the wise man, for he cannot escape from them. There is another kind of ripe karma that is of very serious importance, that of inevitable actions. Every action is the final expression of a series of thoughts. To borrow an illustration from chemistry, we obtain a saturated solution of thought by adding thought after thought of the same kind, until another thought, or even an impulse of vibration from without, will produce the solidification of the whole, the action which expresses the thoughts. If we persistently reiterate thoughts of the same kind, say of revenge, we at last reach the point of saturation, and any impulse will solidify these into action and a crime results. Or we may have persistently reiterated thoughts of help to another to the point of saturation. When the stimulus of opportunity touches us, they crystallize out as an act of heroism. A man may bring over with him some ripe karma of this kind, and the first vibration that touches such a mass of thoughts ready to solidify into action will hurry him without his renewed volition, unconsciously, into the commission of the act. He cannot stop to think. He is in the condition in which the first vibration of the mind causes action. Poised on the very point of balancing, the slightest impulse sends him over. Under these circumstances, a man will marvel at his own commission of some crime, or at his own performance of some sublime act of self-devotion. He says, "I did it without thinking. and knowing that he had thought so often that he had made the action inevitable. When a man has willed to do an act many times, he at last fixes his will irrevocably, and it is only a question of opportunity when he will act. So long as he can think, his freedom of choice remains, for he can set the new thought against the old and gradually wear it out by the reiteration of opposing thoughts. But when the next thrill of the soul in response to a stimulus means action, the power of choice is exhausted. Herein lies the solution of the old problem of necessity and free will. Man, by the exercise of free will, gradually creates necessities for himself, and between the two extremes lie all the combinations of free will and necessity which make the struggles within ourselves of which we are conscious. We are continually making habits by the repetitions of purposive actions guided by the will. Then the habit becomes a limitation, and we perform the action automatically. Perhaps we are then driven to the conclusion that the habit is a bad one, and we begin laboriously to unmake it by thoughts of the opposite kind, and after many an inevitable lapse into it, the new thought current turns the stream, and we regain our full freedom, often again gradually to make another fetter. So old thought forms persist and limit our thinking capacity, showing as individual and as national prejudices. The majority do not know that they are thus limited, and go on serenely in their chains, ignorant of their bondage. Those who learn the truth about their own nature become free. The constitution of our brain and nervous system is one of the most marked necessities in life. These we have made inevitable by our past thinkings, and they now limit us, and we often chafe against them. They can be improved slowly and gradually. The limits can be expanded, but they cannot be suddenly transcended. Another form of this ripe karma is where some past evil thinking has made a crust of evil habits around a man which imprisons him and makes an evil life. The actions are the inevitable outcome of his past as just explained, and they have been held over even through several lives, in consequence of those lives not offering opportunities for their manifestation. Meanwhile, the soul has been growing and has been developing noble qualities. In one life, this crust of past evil is thrown out by opportunity, and because of this, the soul cannot show his later development. Like a chicken ready to be hatched, he is hidden within the imprisoning shell, and only the shell is visible to the external eye. After a time, that karma is exhausted, and some apparently fortuitous event, a word from a teacher, a book, a lecture, breaks the shell, and the souls come forth free. These are the rare, sudden, but permanent conversions, the miracles of divine grace of which we hear, all perfectly intelligible to the knower of karma and falling within the realm of the law. The accumulated karma that shows itself as character is, unlike the ripe, always subject to modifications. It may be said to consist of tendencies, strong or weak, according to the thought force that has gone to their making, and these can be further strengthened or weakened by fresh streams of thought force sent to work with or against them. If we find in ourselves tendencies of which we disapprove, we can set ourselves to work to eliminate them. Often we fail to withstand temptation, overborne by the strong outrushing stream of desire, but the longer we can hold out against it, even though we fail in the end, the nearer we are to overcoming it. Every such failure is a step towards success, for the resistance wears away part of the energy, and there is less of it available for the future. Finally, there is the karma which is in the course of making. Not only does this affect the events and circumstances of our future lives, but also our character for the next life. By our actions and thoughts in this life, we are determining our character for the next.